had to get your attention somehow. I'm Ron Ramsden, a DYB coach, also painting contractor. I better put this money away before my wife knows it's missing. Anyways, I want to talk money with you. And money's a hard subject. I know it's a hard subject sometimes with spouses and families. And it's also hard for business owners to come to realization that that is probably one of the most important things you have to talk about. I want to start with the basics. So if you're a bigger company, you've been around for a while, maybe this video is probably not for you. But there's a lot of people starting out who have been educated in money. Profit, losses, gross nets, why you should have separate checking accounts and such. So anyways, I want to just go over the very basics with you of running a business with money and some of the terms and things you should be thinking about. Well, we all hear about these companies that do $1 million and $800,000 and $500,000. And if you're a smaller company, that's a little overwhelming when you're doing $150,000 to $300,000, and you can almost wonder, what if, when I get there? Well, it doesn't really matter how much money you hear, it's how much money you keep. There's many companies out there doing $800 million who are broke. Don't be broke. You can do very well at $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Anyways, we'll talk about gross. When you hear a company that add up all the income they receive throughout the year, maybe they do some power washing, they do some exterior painting, interior painting, things like that. So all the money they've received across the entire year is called gross. That is their gross. So when you a lot of hear the companies say, oh, I make between $350,000 and $400,000, I make between $800,000 and $900,000, I just broke the $1 million mark. That's in gross money. Now, if you take up all the expenses that we have, and it's similar to your own personal, but we're going to keep personal out of this. So when you're operating a business and you sell a job for $1,000, you might have $150 worth of it might be supplies, the paint, the wallpaper, sanding blocks, all that other stuff. Those are the supplies. So that's an expense. You have labor. You might have employed one or two people for a day. That is an expense. You'll have insurances. Those are expenses. So you'll take out what it costs you to actually perform the job, the money paid out, including the supplies. Take what they pay you minus the all the expenses off that, and that'll be your net. So the gross was the $1,000. The net is what actually you keep after all payroll, all taxes, all supplies. And you keep adding them up, they add up to a lot. And that little bit you keep at the end is called the net. So what we want to talk about is, in the average painting world, we hear net profits average, and we don't like average, but we're going to go with averages, are 10 to 11%. And sometimes 12%. We find a lot of painters doing 15 and close to 20%, and there's a few that are a little higher than that. They've been around, they've really kept their expenses under control, and they're also working very efficiently with their teams. So what we want to do is we want to look at it. If you're running we'll say average, we're going to run a 11% net, and you did $100,000 this year. So after everything was said and done, including your own salary, all the bills are paid. You hopefully have $11,000 left over after everything is said and done. So that's an 11% net. So if you do $200,000, you have $22,000. So keep adding 11%. 11% of $100,000 is $11,000. And you go up, say if you did $400,000, you have $44,000. Can you imagine if you controlled your expenses, similar to purchasing your supplies, as Scott Lawler showed and shared in one of the other videos, at a price, you shop that around, you control your wasted time, you're careful of what you spend your money on with your insurances, your vehicles and things like that. You don't always need the bright new shiny vehicle. Used vehicles work very, very well. And then if you can control it so your net profit will slowly creep up as you've been around, and you increase your labor rates, your bid rates, you're going to find your net profit, if you can control the expenses, will slowly edge up. So if you're doing $400,000 a year and you have a net of 11%, you'd make $44,000. So you've already taken your salary. At the end of the year, you've profited $44,000. I'm not talking about what you owe Uncle Sam on your profit, but you'd have $44,000. If you could edge that up from 11% to 13%, so that $44,000 now becomes $52,000. And you can see, so it's 13 and 13, 13,000 every 100,000. It'll bring it up to 52,000. As you get even higher, if you hit a 15% net, now you not only taking care of your own salary, all the expenses for the company for the year, you have an additional $60,000. So that's the difference between gross and net. Checking accounts. This is another one. I've talked to someone and they actually didn't have a separate checking account for business. I know if you've been around for a while, you know you should have this. But when you're starting out, it's sometimes hard because there's not enough money to have two checking accounts. But it's very, very important to have two checking accounts. It's too easy to spend each other's money. Personally, you see something, there's money in the bank, you use it, and vice versa for the business. So you want to make sure you have two checking accounts. You have a business account through your bank as well as whatever you do for personal. And then once you get established, very, very important, we call it a DRIP account. What's a DRIP account? A DRIP account is a savings account from a bank that you can automatically transfer money without even touching it. So you set up a weekly transfer from your business checking account into a business savings account. And very easy when you're starting off, you started out at $10, especially if you're a small company, $10. It doesn't sound like a lot, and you know it runs a little lean sometimes. So you put that $10 in, $10 as that is your rainy day account. When things get better, you increase that. You might increase it to 20, 25 a week, 100 a week, 500 a month. And then before you know it, that account is there if you need it. You know that emergency when the truck breaks down and there's no money, you have your emergency account. That's a business savings account. It's good for emergencies. It's also good for maybe a bonus. Maybe it's that shop you look down the road. That's not, it is for emergencies at the beginning, and then actually it can be part of savings. And some of us have multiple DRIP accounts, which we'll use for taxes because we pay quarterly taxes, so we automatically take that out weekly, and also our business savings account. So those are the basics you'll need. Also, book I have to recommend. It's helped me out greatly, especially if you struggled with your finances. I generally don't recommend books on any of my videos. In fact, this is the first time I ever have. I get nothing from it. But if you have struggled with making a budget, and what do I mean by making a budget is that list all your expenses personally, and then you'll have a business budget. So you have your own personal budget that you'll know where every dollar is going every week, but also a business budget. You know, you'll list your gas for the month. You'll list for your truck payment if you have one. Maybe a little repair budget in there also. You'll have a cell phone budget. We have our insurances. You might have a payroll processing fee, which is part of the budget. Payroll, you can take an average because it doesn't matter how many hours you work, how many people are working, etc., etc. But if you can actually run on a budget, you can actually have every dollar accounted for, but you can also have those DRIP accounts set up. So remember, we like to make profit, so always watch the bottom line. And if you do not watch the budget, you do not watch your bank account, you do not watch the cash flow, it's going to get away from you. So easy if you're using something like QuickBooks to help you with your finances. You can use FreshBooks. Those are very easy to use. If not, do a paper budget. It will help you in the long run. The book I recommend here is Dave Ramsey's The Total Money Makeover. If you're new to finances, you struggle with finances, this is a great book, The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, to help you on your way. If I can help in any way answer some of your questions, I'm not an accountant. I've made enough mistakes with money over the years. I'd love to chat with you. My name is Ron Ramsden. I'm a DYB coach, also painting contractor. Just helping you with the basics, and I want to keep you on a positive, profitable road as you work through your business. Have a great day.